So anyways, TSA, invasion of privacy or not? Infringement of freedoms or no?
Yes.
Okay. Guys, welcome to the show. This is the Train to Win podcast. I am your host, Blake Burnard, and today we are met with
Zach Luce.
Zach Luce. Zach, I've been calling your last name Lucci my entire life.
I'll go with that. The only one I don't go with is Lucy. So it's Luce or Luce.
It's like Django Unchained. You're like, the C is silent. You know?
Yeah.
Very good. Well, Zach is the owner of EngagePT and a longtime friend of mine, basically a friend of mine as long as Grindhouse has been a thing, because we really kind of have a lot of cross-pollination going with our athlete groups and the people that we work with. Why don't you tell our audience exactly who you are and what you stand for, man?
Who I am and what I stand for. That's a loaded question. No, I'm physical therapist. Have been in EngagePT for, 4 years now. Yeah, what else do you want to know?
Why are you a physical therapist?
I really enjoy like the mechanical aspect of pathologies, and started to figure out that I could really change things with my hands. And so anything from joint mobilization to soft tissue work, and really see a real-time difference. That's pretty much it. Get to spend a lot of time with really cool people, just like yourself. Like,
absolutely,
a lot of crossover in what you do and what I do. So,
well, you're one of the few PTs that actually enjoys the soft tissue. I mean, like so many of them, they're like, God, when can I get out of this position to where I get my hands back, essentially? Because for those of you guys who don't know, like manual therapies are incredibly taxing on the body. Why do you enjoy it so much, man? And how do you see such an immediate benefit, a lasting benefit that makes you feel like you're changing lives?
Basically, everyone always says that. They watch me walking back and forth and getting up on tables and working on people, and they like, man, you must be tired by the end of the day. And I'm like, no, actually, I'm not. It's more mentally taxing because you're having to figure out how to teach people a lot of things that they think that they understand, but they don't quite understand. But I enjoy that. There's something about that feedback that I get. I joke with people like I'm listening to the tissue. I'm having a conversation with it. So I kind of understand like a lot of like a really good massage therapist is actually better than a lot of other therapists out there.
Agreed.
And, because there's like an intuitive aspect to it. So and that's really I naturally just kind of gravitate towards that intuitive side of things. And I can really read a lot of things with athletes and patients by what they say, what they don't say as I'm working on them. And it's hard to not connect. For me, I can't really connect until I put hands on them and work on them. So that's probably, I would say that's kind of what I tell people. The thing that's different between me and everybody else is I'm very, very hands-on.
I love that. Well, I mean, it has a more of a personal touch, but also that can't be replicated. You know what I mean? Like you can't teach someone how to do that in a classroom.
So I've had athletic trainers, watch me work, and they're like, "What are you doing? Like it looks like just soft tissue work." And there's a little bit more to that. If you find areas of the tissue that, the way I explain it to patients is that if there's a spot that's not moving, I can tell. And if you look at everything else around it, if the one part is moving, another part is not moving, then I know I can get the part that's stuck and stiff. I can get that moving. And a lot of times, there's so much pain that's related to myofascial stuff that once you open that up, there's kind of like a some people believe it's like more of the joint. Some people believe that it's more myofascial, and I pretty much believe it's both. And sometimes to access one quickly, you can do a little bit more myofascial.
Understood. Now, how much of this is lasting? I had a really good, I stumbled into a relationship with a world-class ART tech when I was in junior college. Had no idea what it was. He goes, hey man, I worked in the same clinic as he did. I was an aide and he was kind of like a 1099 kind of guy. He actually ran Red Bull's performance facility in South Africa for a number of years, worked on all their extreme sport athletes, and came stateside, went down to Laguna Niguel. We worked in the same building. He goes, hey, I've worked with tons of rugby players. You're playing football. I'd love to work on your body, kind of help you out a little bit, because we had a good friendship. That guy single-handedly changed the way I thought about the body. And not only that, unlocked things in my hips, my hamstrings, my psoas, all that stuff that like I had no idea it held me back for so long. Why?
There's a lot of stuff. This is where we can get into
an
interesting place, but there's a lot of stuff that we don't quite understand about the nervous system. And so there's a lot of things that I used to kind of mock. One thing that I've learned in the last couple of years is never mock something that you haven't fully investigated yourself. So I used to think that acupuncture wasn't really legit. There wasn't really anything there. Chiropractors, I wasn't really a big fan. Now all of that stuff is like wide open. So we're entering this phase where everything is kind of open to discovery. And I think, going back to your question, I think the reason why it works is that if you can change that input output from the nervous system, so that efferent afferent feedback, you change everything. And so how you do that a lot of times can be myofascial. There's a lot of stuff that I think that is, I don't know how to explain it, but it's kind of stored in those locked up spots. And it's interesting. I've had several patients where I'm working on them and something will kind of let go and they get emotional. And it's kind of, they get really embarrassed too, because it's kind of like, wait a minute, this is weird. I don't know what to do with this. I'm like, no, it's actually more common than people realize. And I bet you anything that guy that you're talking about, the ART guy, I bet you he's had those experiences.
100%. This sounds a lot like RPR, like reflexive performance reset. Have you gone down that rabbit hole yet?
Yeah.
Okay. So how do you know sternum rubs and everything?
Oh,
bro, anything to get an extra edge, man. But no, the people who use it regularly swear by it. Again, like you said, just waking up the nervous system, but also like, now I don't understand. So when you're talking about electrical currents and the things that like can really unlock joints, I mean, like I'm going way above my pay grade. You'd probably know more about that. You obviously work more on the return to play side of things, and you're a guy that gets my endorsement on an almost daily basis because, dude, the thing that I think you do better than anybody, Zach, in Bakersfield at least, is return to play. You prioritize the athletes over any, agendas of your own, maybe insurance plays, things like that. I mean, dude, tell me where that comes from.
It's a dance because I enjoy it, especially at CSUB, working with the athletes and the other athletes. You have the coach, you have the strength and conditioning guys, you have the parents, you have the athlete themselves, you have all of these different things, and I focus on the athlete and trying to navigate that complexity of personalities. And really a lot of it, I mean, so much of it's psychological. So if you can show people that they're okay, and you can prove that, and you can change things real time, it gives them confidence, and they know that they got it. They know they got somebody that's thinking for them, and not and the coaches are too, but the coaches are navigating their own complexity, right?
Complexity is such a nice way to put it.
Oh, man, that's infinite complexity. So a lot of it, if I can connect with the athlete and kind of figure out where they are psychologically, then I got it.
That's amazing. Well, I mean, it's kind of, this should be the natural way of doing things. I just kind of made it a point early on, and I know you did the exact same way because I know your origin story from past conversations, but like, I kind of just believe that like doing right by people and being honest with them, setting good expectations and getting them better, faster results in longer term business. But that's not how all PTs do it.
No. And when you start talking about business, that's why I always tell you, like, I'm a little jealous of the place that you're in, because I have to manage the insurance stuff. And everybody comes in with an expectation because
Mm-hmm.
they're paying so much money for insurance. They want the insurance to cover it. They're not coming to you expecting the insurance to pay for it. So
no, they expect results.
They expect results.
But
yeah.
I think it's different because you're not setting those prices,
Right,
right?
exactly.
So you're dealing with a middleman, and oh my gosh, if you have any exposure to the insurance world,
it's a nightmare.
I don't envy your job.
No,
at
it's
all,
a nightmare.
man.
I'm talking to more and more physicians and just more and more people in that, and the private healthcare arena. It's I mean, a lot of them are retiring, a lot of them are getting out. But no, I've thought many times, like, you know, how could I get out of that system? And there's a way, but you have to do it in a way that it's a little different than how I'm doing it right now.
Yeah, you just got to team up with Grindhouse, man, make it a collaborative affair, you know?
Yep.
Now, tell me this, dude. You have to carve out a niche for yourself. There, PT. I mean, this is true of any business.
Yeah.
Who am I kidding? But PT, as it is, like, no one got into it because it was the highest paying gig in the world. Just like coaching, right?
Yeah.
Ultimately, you have to be good at one thing, or treat people a certain way, or really over deliver on experiences. What is the thing that's really made you guys what it is? Because I'll be honest, like, you guys deal, like I said, a lot of cross pollination. We tend to attract the very high quality families in town who, like, hey, their parents are professionals. They all played college sports. They know good training from bad training, things like that. I mean, you deal with the same people at Liberty High School, Cal State, BCHS. What are you doing to really, like, own that market?
I'd be curious to see what other people around me would say. But I really feel that it's they trust me, and they know it comes down to authenticity and trust. And in a small town, if you do that and you do right by people, people talk. And, like, I mean, most of our referrals, it seems like now, are just as much coming from friends and family as they are coming from physicians. Because it used to be, it was like, it was all about the physician. It still is, like, in terms of referrals, but we get a lot of reverse referrals. So I'll get an athlete in, and if I feel like there's a little bit more there, because in California we had direct access up to 12 visits, or 45 days, I think it is. So we don't have to involve the physician unless we feel like it's needed. And a lot of times I like that collaboration and more eyes on it. But going back to your question, I think it's just trust. I know that people know that I'm going to work on them. They know that I'm going to change the tissue. And they know I'm going to get them to where they want to be. I mean, our motto is getting better is the only option. That's literally it's a mindset and a mantra. And I think that comes out in our actions, and how I treat getting better is the only option. And sometimes it's going to be quick. Sometimes it's going to take a little longer. So
that's a heck of a mission statement, man. It really is. So tell me, like, how do you, I have my own thoughts on this, but I'm always curious how you navigate that ecosystem of relationships you mentioned earlier when you're talking about you're getting hands-on with the athlete, but you're not hands-on with the parents, the coaches, the strength coach. It probably only gets messier the older they get BC, Cal State. So what, how do you navigate that in terms of basically keeping everybody happy? Because they all have different expectations for you.
So a lot of my challenge is a lot of what I do personally is not scalable because it's me. And so that's the challenge. The more you know, I make sure the parents know that they can call me, they can come in anytime, they can text me. So developing that relationship and that that trust is important. But yeah, I could talk for a whole nother, I could talk for an hour
Go ahead.
how to on how to scale what I'm doing. And actually my wife and I have talked about that. Like, what is it that I bring to the table? And really, I think it is trust and authenticity and the mindset of, we're going to get there. We're going to get you better, like, period. And what's your goal? When do you want to return to play? Is that realistic? How can we change that? All those things. But yeah, I don't know I haven't figured out how to scale that.
Sure.
People around me, other PTs will kind of pick up on it, and the observant people will pick up on it and some of the keys to what I do. But yeah, you should have my wife on it to ask that question.
Absolutely.
She has some.
You just got to keep a good journal, man. Write down everything you do in a day and then standardize it, man. Well, tell me this. I mean, the expectation of the athlete sometimes is probably the only one that really matters, like to a point, right? Especially with the kids that we have both dealt with. I know that the kids themselves love you. They trust you. I think that is the most important word here, right? You've earned that relationship with them. But furthermore, you know, you get repeat customers by doing right by them first. Now, I'm really big on expectations. I get them, usually they've been riding the bench. They got cut from their GUIF football team. They're going into high school. They're going into their final 2 years. Clock is ticking, something like that, right? They're desperate to get better. Your guys are usually broken. So how do you manage the emotions behind this when you've got a kid that's like, I just want to play this fall, right? And you're like,
you're good at this. That's a good question.
Oh, dude, we're in the same world, just different athletes, man.
A lot of it is getting into their head, just like you do. It's like how I can't really understand what they need, like psychologically, unless I know where they're at. So a lot of it is figuring out where they're at, and then bringing in the clinical skills, bringing in the experience, and telling them, hey, I had an athlete that was just like this last year.
Yes.
And it took them this long, and they were worse than you. And they were worse than you in these ways. And so once you paint that picture, like I say that I'm not a very good storyteller, but I apparently am okay at it, because I have to be able to connect with them, and I have to tell a story of where they're at, what their expectations should be, and where I expect them to be. And it's an ongoing, and the challenge is they are broken. And so what happens a lot of times is when they're not as broken, I have to manage, I have to manage the expectation and the safety of going back.
Oh, how do you do that?
Because now they're good. Now they're good, right? Sometimes scaring them a little bit, sometimes testing them, like showing them, this is where you're at. This is where you should be. You do really good with the testing. Like that's an area that I'm about getting in there and making a difference right away. And if I'm doing a lot of testing, it's that takes time away from what I'm doing. Yeah. So a lot of times my testing is same as yours, is to show them where they're at and how much further they have to go.
Well, you have to have baselines, but it took us so long to collect a bunch of data where we have norms, right? And not only that, but we can find, or rather, probably the proper word, standard deviations, right? From which we can then get reasonable expectations. Because I'm all about the word reasonable. It's hey, we have outliers. We got genetic freaks and guys that can, they take really well to our style of training. Then we got these kids that are like, we're gonna be pulling teeth to get what's
appropriate, what's a realistic expectation. A lot of it is navigating where they are and where they are in their head, and where reality actually is.
You have to have there's such a psychology behind performance, but how much more so when you're dealing with high school, college kids?
A lot.
Their frontal lobe isn't even fully developed yet.
And then you have to kind of make sure you're connecting with the parents, and the parent has to feel like you're on their side, and the athlete has to feel like you're not, talking behind their back to their parent or their coach.
That's real.
It's a tightrope to walk.
Well, how do you do that? Keeping the parents in the loop. I'm just thinking of a lot of the kids that we've had that were also your patients. They were 16 plus, driving themselves. Are you like calling home to report back, like testing, any baseline improvement, things like that, or what are you doing?
You're highlighting probably something that I can improve on. I'm basically.
Oh, we're going to talk after the show.
Yeah.
We're going to talk. I can help.
A lot of it's just making sure that the parent knows that I'm available, And
I love that.
If they need to talk, for me, a lot of times, because I'm moving so fast, if I'm not saying something, it's because I'm not concerned about it. If I'm talking to you, it's because I'm concerned about it. There's more room for communication is always the key, right? But that takes time, like that. And so that's another area that I could probably scale a little bit. But no, you're hitting some, like, we could talk for hours about 100%. This stuff. Yeah.
Well, tell me this, because I'm really interested in how Christian business owners include Christ in what they do, right? Because, man, I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm speaking from experience here, just in my own journey, that was something that didn't come naturally. Like, I mean, I know that my gym is my missions field. I guess I always had a little bit of like cognitive dissonance, right? One voice is telling me that, like, you know, I need to have a cross in my logo. I need to have John 3:16 on the backside of my door, or on the bottom of my In-N-Out cup, or something like that, you know? And then the other half of me is like, no, dude, play gangster rap, meet them where they're at, sit with sinners, all that kind of stuff, and just like love on them the best you can while they're in your building. And that's the path we've chosen to take with great success, if I might say so myself. What is your approach to being Christ in the clinical setting?
Honestly, I don't mean this to be cliche, but I just try being authentic. I really, I think that's what people pick up on, is that I'm real. And so I won't necessarily it depends on the person. And what I have to navigate is the other people around me. So, like, I can really engage this one person in front of me, but what is this person over here hearing? And
because your tables are so close, it's very
well,
intimate.
And it's not really loud. Like, sometimes it's loud depending on who's in the clinic, but
it's not a training setting, you know.
It's not. I mean, to my benefit, it actually would be better if it was louder,
right?
Because I'll talk to them. I even told a patient the other day that I was praying for him. And actually I said, and the other day when you said you felt really good when you left, I was praying for you then. And some of the patients, like, when they're like, you were praying for me while you were working on me?
That's it.
Because that's not that's like clinical, right? You're not supposed to do that. And but hey, that's who I am. So
that's like surgeons praying during surgery.
Yeah,
it's like no one's around, they're just kind of doing their
I try not to preach at people, but I also really believe that God has given me the platform, and he's given me, I joke with some of the kids that you can just start calling me Pastor Zach. Like,
isn't it funny? So I joke with my coaches, and they're like, oh, you're right. I go, we're glorified youth pastors.
Yeah.
We just hang out with people all day that need Jesus.
With insight and knowledge on a lot of different things, you know. I just add
isn't that just the vessel to, like, get in front of them?
Yeah,
just a platform.
It is. Yeah.
So okay. We said we weren't going to get into conspiracies. We'll save that for volume 2 of this one, because Zach will be back. Okay, but before we get there, we can kind of dip our toes into controversy. How about that?
Controversy.
Why don't we talk about things you hate about the PT industry? And let's open the can of worms of, what do you think is the most bastardized aspect of PT? The thing in the industry that you are fighting hard to change, or that you want to change?
Oh, man. Probably the thing that I hate the most right now is that, and this is not new. This is like, it kind of cycles through, but right now everything is movement based. And so it's all about exercise. And a lot of that is code for, I don't want to put hands on people.
Ooh.
That's not true across the board.
Shade was just thrown.
That's not true across the board.
Okay.
So I'm not, but I've seen it. Like,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I've seen it in play. And the challenge is the insurance companies are moving that direction. So in my mind, the thing that takes the most skill and the most input, which is the manual therapy, which is the hands-on stuff and analysis in real time of that, is taking a back seat. And that, I think, is what makes us different. Now, what should happen is you do both, and that's what we do. I really feel like I can improve on the exercise thing. When I was younger, I was a lot more in tune with that. Now I'm much more hands-on. What PT should be is both, and not taking the hands-on and just doing that, and not just doing the TheraX or the exercise. It needs to be both. So
what does that look like? Like 20 minutes of both, or like hands-on before, hands-on after? Like, how do you?
Honestly, I think it just takes, it's like anything else. It takes mindset. Like I have, I don't know that all the PTs have the same skill level in terms of hands-on, but they can improve that. But some of them are not gifted that way, which is fine. I'm not a bad mouthing them, but I don't know how to fix that, because that's the way the industry is going.
Well, it's scalable.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
I mean, you can make more money per hour by having 3, 4, 5 athletes doing movement,
doing exercise.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, man. Now, why would insurance companies move towards that? Because wouldn't that also, I don't know if correlation equals causation. Come on, dude. You know something. Why would they favor that approach?
I'm asking that same question, and I think there's a lot of things that play into it. I actually think, conspiracy wise, I think there's somewhat of an effort to get rid of the profession, or to bring it in-house, so that it's
that is real.
Yeah.
So that hasn't quite made it to California yet, but my buddies in Pennsylvania, New York, Ohio, the hospitals are taking over everything. Sport performance, PT, and what a joy it is to create the injuries, make sure that the athletes aren't in a great place to avoid them, and then see you next off season. Oh, dude, it's wild. You can't sell the sickness and the cure. Oh my gosh, we said we weren't going to get into it. Okay, that was a big one. What's one more thing you'd love to change about the industry? You know what? We can go with a different angle here, to the parents listening, or the person with ailments of their own, right?
Mm-hmm.
Someone that loves someone, whether it's themselves or others, okay, that maybe needs treatment. How do they find a good PT? How do you, having been in the industry for so long, sift through the BS, so to speak?
That's a great question. I was hoping you'd ask me questions that were a little easier.
No underhanded ones, Mike. You're too intelligent for
that. How do you sift through? I don't know. Hopefully you have a good network of friends that can vouch for different people, and that's what we've talked about a little bit before. Like, I'm not a naturally good, like, I want to get on Instagram and just start, teaching people stuff, but that's not my thing. That would be a good route to take, educate everybody on that side of things. But no, how do people, how would you find out if the PT was legit or not?
We've been friends long enough. I know that you're not the guy to like slander or talk down upon anybody else's practices. That's not you. There's grace on this, but I am curious to know, for the uneducated out there, you want to save them from the wolves, right?
Yeah.
Like, how can you tell them to discern between the reals and the phonies?
Anyone that's taken the time to I have a board specialization in orthopedics and a board specialization in sports physical therapy. So I can call myself an orthopedic and sports specialist. And those two tests were harder than anything I ever did. So my board exams, the doctorate, I have a clinical doctorate, all that stuff that I did, those two exams were very difficult. So anyone that's taken the time to do that, so in our field, it's an OCS or a SCS. Anyone that's taken the time to do that, you should be able to trust them, because they put in the time.
Okay, so what are you saying? Mom walks into the PT clinic and she's looking for certifications and accreditations on the wall. How does she know the difference between them?
She doesn't. That's
come on.
That's the challenge.
You got to know something. Have you ever stepped into a PT clinic that's not your own and be like, dude, there's something off about this place?
Oh, totally.
What is it? What was the first thing you noticed?
Well, it's like any business, right? It's kind of customer service. It's
that's a big one for me.
It's kind of the vibe of the place. I don't know. You said it. When you walk into a place and it's It's not good.
Okay, I'm so anal about this, but if somebody doesn't greet me within, I would say 10 seconds of walking in, I'm walking out.
I'm always
I'm not giving them a chance. Man.
I'm always nervous that that's going to happen because you know,
great receptionists.
Yeah, no,
are awesome.
But everyone has. That was why I was nervous about doing this. Everyone has a bad day, you know. Like I'm like, okay, am I having a good day? Is this like? And you don't want the first impression to be on your bad day. So.
Okay, last question, man. I always love this. And I was an English teacher. I'm really big about education, and you stay educated. That's something I love about you. You've never stayed still. So tell me what it is. What's something that's kind of got your attention right now? Something that maybe like, and no, we're not going to talk about red calves or anything like that. Okay, tell me about today.
Tom would say heifer.
Yeah, no red heifers today. But what's something industry specific, or maybe just in performance, bodies, wellness, whatever, that has your attention, that you think there's a lot of promise in?
Oh, a lot of promise. I have this thing, and it drives my wife crazy because we both know how much time and effort would go into it, but there's no one around that does musculoskeletal diagnostic ultrasound. So that would be walking up with the iPad and an ultrasound unit and being able to look at a tendinopathy or look at and measure the amount of inflammation. But there's a reason why nobody does it. It's extremely difficult. And it's one of those.
Difficult or expensive or both?
It's not expensive. The skill of the individual is paramount. Like it's not that, and that's why people don't do it.
But that shouldn't be an issue because you're still doing it. No one would be able to do it better than you. Why can't you do it?
Time. Like it's the amount of time and reimbursement. So you put all of that time into it, and that time might, like I'm working 12-hour days as it is. So it's not and it's not, it's time. So that's what interests me. And I think I can see where there's promise in it because people would benefit from that. I have a physician in town. I won't mention his name because I don't know if he wants me to, but he's a genius with that ultrasound. Like he can take a look at your Achilles tendon. He can take a look at any part of your foot and tell you what's going on. To me, that's really cool.
That is amazing.
But I gotta figure out how to scale some things before I do that.
Oh, we can help. So, okay, tell me this. What do you do with that information? So you can tell someone exactly what's going on, but I mean, this is the thing about like our line of work. You can run whatever diagnostics. Like I've been wanting to get Nord boards and all that kind of stuff, right? Yeah. Like force plates, all of it.
Yeah.
But what do you do with it? And can you teach that to others?
It's just that, well, I mean, you can definitely teach it to others, but it's time. So the reason why it's an obstacle is the amount of time that goes into getting really good at that is massive. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, really what you can do with it is it's just another data point. It's another data point you can compare back to. So it's I measured the amount of inflammation now, and then I measure it in a couple weeks. The challenge is it's time. It's all time. So what's going to give you the most bang for your buck? When I have time, that's what I'm going to do. But assuming that I have time and money at that point.
Oh yeah. Well, dude, the reputation you have around town, I don't think the money thing. Dude, you've always been taken care of. The Lord has so much favor over you and your business. You. Tell my parents and my people needing treatment how they can find you, man.
EngagePT. I always tell people we're like 2 minutes from Chick-fil-A on off of California and Lennox.
Now you can say that you're 1 minute away from 500 Media. You know,
seriously. Like when you told me the address was right here, I can walk there. And EngagePT.com. What else? Yeah.
You did great, man. Thanks. You did great. Nothing to be nervous about. Huh?
Yeah, first podcast ever, man.
There you go. Well, guys, hey, as always, this has been the Train to Win podcast. You can find me at Blake Burnard Coaching on Instagram. And anyways, give us a like, give us a shout, review the show. Okay, we are going to be on Spotify. I got to check with Mr. Mike, see if we're on there quite yet. But then you can tell us how we're doing, and that is really the only way the show grows. So, guys, thank you so much. Until next time, hail strength.